Alright, well, hopefully you can hear me over this wind. It's about 34 degrees outside and pretty windy, but in here it's pretty nice. What we're looking at here is just my soil mix. We're in my new seedling house, and as you can see, I've got quite a bit of equipment in here. This is a 16 by 17 greenhouse. Try to squeeze as much in as I can. These are all the soil blocks I've made recently that haven't been used yet. This is my screen table I built. We use this to screen out all the material, so we've got some compost, some coarse sand, a bunch of amendments, and I get soil from the garden, and it all goes through here and gets screened into this little catch, which I built, and then it gets mixed up with a shovel, and then it moves over into here, which gets mixed with water, and into this sled, and then I just mix it up so it's the consistency of like a mortar. And use our soil block maker. This is a 2-inch blocker, that's 1.5 inches, and there's actually a large 4-inch blocker over there as well. And then they get turned into soil blocks, which are these little things here. I'm not sure if you can see that. Those are the 2-inch blocks. We use those quite extensively this time of year, about mid-March for planting onions. These are the 1.5 inch blocks, and those are used for a lot of different other things such as lettuce and greens. And over here we have a bunch of seeds that I've started. Here's a bunch of greens. There's some bok choy, some red choy, some broccoli over here, and all the rest of this pretty much is onions. I do have one more tray of lettuce. There's some collards and kale back there, but this is all onions at different stages. And back up a little bit here, you can see that they're inside this little miniature tunnel that's inside the greenhouse. It's banked with hay all the way around, and inside the tunnel it's filled up with manure about 3 feet from the ground, maybe up to about here inside the tunnel. Fresh horse manure from a place down the road. He's got a couple workhorses. This is an aside. Like I said, it's 34 degrees outside today and very windy and cold feeling. And this is my compost thermometer. It's hard to see, just sitting on the top of the soil, not in anything, and it's about 80 degrees. And if I take that out and I find a little hole here in between and I shove it down into the compost, you're going to see that needle jump right up. Let's see if I can block the light here. So that needle's moving up, and that's why we put this manure in here. Fresh horse manure, it's decomposing and it's creating a massive amount of heat, and that is what I use to germinate all of these onions. No electricity. I just use a natural decomposition process of fresh horse manure. So we're already up to, let's see, about 120. I think it's actually about 140 in the pile. If I can block the light here. And still climbing, 130. So that's about, this is a 2-foot compost thermometer, so 24 inches in about. It's very hot. And that heat percolates up from the bottom and heats up the seed blocks. So these are probably even warmer than 80 down here. I've got 2 levels. These are the ones that are, these ones up top have already germinated obviously, and they need the sunlight. But these ones down here, I have limited space, so I just basically built a table so that heat percolates up and keeps these warm at night. Gets down to about 50 or 60 degrees up here. And then since there's no seedlings up yet in these blocks, they just need the heat. So once those come up, I'll have to move them out and get them so they have some sunlight. But it'll be a couple days yet. I just planted these a couple days ago. So it's up to, let's see, thermometer says heat is up to, I know it's hard to see, 150 in that pile. So that's some pretty serious decomposition. So we'll move this up so you can see. If I just put this at the surface of the manure, you can see what temperature it is to germinate, and I can tell you already it's about 120 at the top, which is pretty hot, but the heat dissipates pretty quickly in here as it's trying to reach equilibrium. But anyway, this is what we do to germinate our seeds. We don't use electrical heat mats unless we need to, and sometimes I do need to if I run out of space. I have another one of these, I call it a manure tunnel. I have a manure tunnel in here. This is, like I said, 16 feet long, probably about 4 feet wide, and it's about 3.5 feet high. You need that much for volume to create that amount of heat. And then in my new seedling house that I'm building, which is just on the other side of that plastic over there, I mean, new greenhouse, that's 32 feet long, so it's twice as long, and it's quite a bit wider, so I'm going to be able to put 2 of these tunnels in there. I've got one already started, but since it's outside, the manure hasn't heated up yet. Once I get my plastic on, it will protect it from the wind, and the manure will start to heat up, and then I can move all these seed blocks into there and keep the process going. But that's pretty much how we germinate our seeds here on the farm, trying to use as little electricity as possible. It's a great natural method. And then once all the seeds have germinated and I don't need it anymore, I take the manure out and put it in a compost pile and continue to turn it, let it heat up, cool down, heat up, cool down as I turn it. And then we just use that as a fertilizer for the garden. So it's a pretty closed system. It works pretty well.